Okay, this is the in-depth movie review of There's Something About Mary, and this is the 2-disc edition DVD, and this is a movie that's probably like 4 on my top 10 movie list of all time, and it's definitely my favorite comedy of all time. I remember seeing this when it first came out to theaters, and it's the only movie I ever remember seeing where somebody's laughed so hard they fell out in the middle of the aisle. And I mean, throughout the entire movie, everyone in the theater was just, roaring with laughter. And it's hard to come across a comedy that really does that. Most movies pretend they're comedies when they're really not that funny. In this case, this is extremely funny. And it's kind of an odd structure. The mini movie is really. It's really a long mini movie for a movie, especially a comedy. It's pretty much, it starts off, with the meet cute, which happens early in this movie. It's basically when Ben Stiller finds that the guys are picking on the retarded Warren, and he goes over there and breaks it up and tries to stop the fight. And it turns out that this Warren is Mary's brother, and that's how they meet. It's kind of an odd circumstance for them to meet in. And pretty much the mini movie is, he's going to prom with her. Then he unfortunately cannot go because of a bathroom incident. Then it's 13 years later, and he's been in depression ever since. And he's talking with his psychiatrist about the entire situation. And he finally gets the bright idea to hire a private investigator to find Mary and see what she's up to and track her down. And the private investigator Matt Dillon goes down there, sees Mary, and he falls for her too. And so the mini movie ends when Matt Dillon gets back to Rhode Island and tells Ben Stiller that Mary is undesirable. She's packed on a few pounds, and she has a bunch of kids. She's in a wheelchair. And pretty much that's it for Ben Stiller. It's pretty much over for him. He can forget about it and go on with life. Up until really the inciting incident in the movie, that's when one of Ben Stiller's older friends says, he's in there getting a massage from his older friend who's a chiropractor. And he says, I saw Mary at a convention here a few weeks back, and he says she's still a fox. So that's when Ben Stiller finds out that Ben Stiller thinks that Matt Dillon was not really down there looking after Mary. He was down there for something else. But he decides, wow, she really does look good, and now he has to find her. So pretty much that gets the big choice. What does he do next? And that's it. He decides he's going down there himself. He's going to go down to Miami and find out things for himself. And that really, leads up to the halfway point. A whole bunch of things, happen in between. Then, about halfway through the movie, he gets down there, and he still doesn't quite want to walk up to her and talk to her. He's a little shy, but then he's kind of forced into it by his friend, Chris Elliott. And then, really, the exact halfway point is when he asks her on a date that night, and she agrees. And there's really no turning back for Ben Stiller at that point with her. And then, lots of, things happen after that. They end up falling for each other once again. And, he really likes her. And, you see that they're meant for each other. And then comes the low point in the movie for Ben Stiller and for her, in this case. It's when she finds an anonymous letter saying that Ben Stiller hired a private investigator to come down there and look after her. And of course, she's real mad at Ben Stiller for this, and that's his low point. She's mad at him, and he walks away, and really, everything he went down there for, the past 13 years of his life was just going down the drain at that point. And that really leads up to the climax. I mean, throughout the entire movie, you see, several guys going after Mary. One, gets a haircut and completely acts like a different person to get to know her. One knew her from high school and has a fetish with her shoes, and another one, completely, changed his, entire profession, moves down there, and impersonates somebody else to know her, and you have all these people, really liking her, and throughout the entire movie, they meet her, and it's usually one at a time that says hi to her and leaves, and then another one comes in, and they all leave. But really, the climax is when they're all together in one giant room, and it comes late in the movie. I mean, the third act is really, really small in this movie, but the climax is really good. I mean, everybody reveals to everyone else who they really are, and she finds out that Brett Favre didn't say those things about Warren, and Ben Stiller finds out who Chris Elliott really is, and she finds out who Matt Dillon is, and who Chris Evans is. Not Chris Evans, Lee Evans. They all find out about each other, and basically there's something about Mary that everybody likes, and it's time for her to choose one. And you think it's Brett Favre, but then the ending of the movie comes, and she basically tells him that she's a San Francisco 49ers fan, and she gets with Ben Stiller. This is one of those movies that I think one of the main reasons why I really like it is because if you took out all the funny parts and made it a straight drama, it would be an excellent movie, because to me, this has a really good storyline. I mean, it's not one of those comedies that require funny scenes to be halfway decent. And this has the great storyline plus the funny things on top of it. And not only that, the funny scenes in this movie are amazingly funny. I mean, it takes a really good movie for me to laugh out loud. And when I'm by myself, I will laugh out loud at so many scenes in this movie. And sometimes you can hurt yourself from laughing out loud. So, your stomach starts to hurt. I mean, it's just one of those movies. I mean, even over 10 years since it's been released, people can still say things from this movie and know what they're talking about. I mean, just scene after scene in this movie is amazing, and there's not one bad thing about this movie. I mean, really. I mean, this is one of those movies where if you've never seen it, you have to. There's no you can pass it up, or I'll skip that one. You have to see this. If somebody comes over and I say, "Hey, have you seen this movie?" and they say no, I'll say, "Well, you're watching it now." And really, that's pretty much it. I mean, I can go on and on and on about how great it is, but unless you have not seen it, then definitely watch it. And if you have, well, then you already know how good it is. So that's it for the in-depth movie review of There's Something About Mary. And I'll probably talk more about this on other reviews, probably top 10 review.